Mark Zuckerberg launched his first website in his Harvard dorm room with only $19,000. No business plan, no outside investors. By 2025, that dorm project has become Meta Platforms, generating $201 billion a year in revenue, 3.5 billion daily users, and a market cap over $1 trillion. Today, we're covering Mark's journey from a dorm room prank that crashed Harvard servers to buying a photo app with zero revenue for $1 billion. By the end, you'll be able to map out exactly how Mark turned a college social network into the most powerful attention machine ever built. Let's get into it. Act 1. Network effects and the attention trap. Social networking wasn't new in 2004. Friendster launched in 2002, MySpace in 2003. So how did a college sophomore outrun them? Zuckerberg didn't open Facebook to everyone. He locked it to Harvard email addresses only, before opening it to the public in 2006. When you joined Facebook at a new school, your real-world friends were already there. The feed was instantly relevant. From there, the flywheel built itself. More users, more content, more time on platform, even more users. Then, in September 2006, Zuckerberg installed the engine for that flywheel, the newsfeed. Within days, 700,000 users joined a protest group to fight it. People called it invasive. Zuckerberg refused to roll it back because newsfeed quietly changed what Facebook was. Before, it was a static directory. After, it was a living, breathing, infinite scroll. Passive visits turned into a daily habit. By 2009, Facebook was profitable with $777 million in revenue. The model was clear: monetize attention through targeted ads, let algorithms maximize time on platform, and reinvest back into the product. Every hour spent there deepens a lock-in that no rival can copy. By the 2012 IPO, that history and those relationships were structurally impossible to recreate from scratch. Mark didn't just build a product. Mark built a system where every user, every photo, and every message thread made it harder to leave and easier to monetize. That's not luck, that's architecture. This channel breaks down exactly how operators like Mark design these systems. Hit subscribe if that's something you're interested in. But even the best attention machines can be killed if the device people use to access it changes. And by 2012, the entire foundation Zuckerberg had built for desktop was about to be replaced by a phone. Act 2. Acquisitions. Buying what he couldn't afford to lose. By 2012, Facebook's growth engine was pointed at a dying platform, desktop. Meanwhile, a 13-person startup in San Francisco was quietly building the future of social on a phone. Instagram had 30 million users and zero revenue. Take a photo, add a filter, share in seconds. Younger users were moving there, and younger users are the future of any advertising business. Zuckerberg watched the next decade of his users start to drift, and the choice collapsed to two options: build a competitor from scratch, or buy the threat before it became existential. He wrote a $1 billion check. The press called it insane. At the time, $1 billion was roughly 1% of Facebook's market value. For 1 cent on the dollar, Zuckerberg bought an asset that now throws off an estimated $80 billion a year and represents around 40% of Meta's total revenue. That's an 80,000% return. 2 years later, he ran the same play at a larger scale. In 2014, Meta paid $19 billion for WhatsApp, 450 million users, $1 a year in fees, and founders who disliked advertising. On a spreadsheet, that was $40+ per user and looked reckless. In reality, Zuckerberg was buying the communication backbone of India, Brazil, and Europe, entire economies where families and businesses lived inside of WhatsApp. By 2025, WhatsApp crossed 2 billion daily active users. Paid messaging alone cleared a $2 billion run rate. Add the two big deals together, roughly $20 billion acquisition cost for Instagram and WhatsApp combined, and they spit off roughly $95 billion in yearly revenue coming back to the business. The real test of this playbook is what happens when the threat won't sell at any price. That's when the strategy shifts from writing checks to something a startup has no defense against. Act 3. The clone playbook. Stories, Reels, and Threads. When Zuckerberg can't buy a threat, he clones its best feature, pixel for pixel, and drops it on top of 3+ billion existing users. No startup on earth can match that distribution. Snapchat's innovation was stories, photos, and videos that disappear in 24 hours. That format was the spine of Snapchat's product. project. In 2013, Snapchat CEO Evan Spiegel turned down a $3 billion offer from Facebook. He thought he was protecting independence. What he actually did was force Meta to switch to a strategy startups can't defend against. And in August 2016, Instagram launched its own Stories. Same mechanic, same name. Instagram Stories had hit 100 million daily users in 2 months. Within 2 years, it was at 500 million daily users. Snap's stock never really recovered because that one cloned feature compressed 6 years of competitor growth into 2 months. Then TikTok showed up. By 2020, it was the most downloaded app in the world. Zuckerberg's answer was Reels, launched across both Instagram and Facebook at the same time, and by the end of 2025, Reels watch time in the US was growing at roughly 30% year over year. Meta did not erase TikTok, but it stopped the bleed and kept a huge share of short-form ad dollars inside Meta's walls. The same pattern played out again in 2023. Meta launched Threads when Twitter's sale to Elon Musk triggered advertiser flight and product chaos. By late 2025, Threads had roughly 300 million monthly active users. Across Snap, TikTok, Twitter, the playbook is identical. A startup launches a format from zero, Meta launches the same behavior to billions. No amount of product quality, branding, or storytelling overcomes that distribution gap. All of this assumes one thing, that the person running the company is allowed to make these kinds of bets and survive the years where they might look wrong. And most CEOs don't lose on ideas, they lose when their own governance cuts them off before the bet pays off, especially when they're the founder and a visionary at the same time. Act 4. The structure that made it unstoppable. Most breakdowns of Meta ignore the move that made every other move in this story possible. The acquisitions, the copycat features, the decade-long product bets. All of them required a CEO who could make decisions that looked insane in the short term and keep his job long enough to be proven right or wrong. At a normal public company, those bets get the CEO fired. Zuckerberg designed Meta, so that could never happen. He owns roughly 13 to 14% of Meta's economic value, but controls 61% of the voting power. That gap comes from a dual-class share structure. Class B shares carry 10 votes each. Class A shares, the ones everyone else buys, carry 1. In simple terms, the people who put in the most capital have the least control. Zuckerberg owns a minority of the equity and a majority of the votes. In 2024, a majority of outside shareholders voted for governance reforms. The reforms failed because Zuckerberg's super voting shares overruled the rest of the cap table. There is no internal mechanism to remove him. That dual-class setup is simultaneously the most dangerous and the most powerful part of this entire empire. That's why the disaster year of 2022 didn't cost him his job. Meta's stock dropped 77%. The company lost $232 billion in market cap in a single day. Any other CEO might have been escorted out, but at Meta, the board answers to the founder. Because he stayed, he could execute a complete pivot. 25,000 layoffs, underperforming projects shut down, and a year of efficiency pushed through without months of committee debate. The stock went from $88 to roughly $796 in under 3 years, adding about $1.2 trillion back to Meta's market cap value. If your strategy needs 10 years of pain to work, but your board has a 2-year attention span, your structure and your plan are in direct conflict. If you need founder-level conviction, but design one share, one vote democracy, don't be surprised when the votes kill your conviction the moment things might get rough. Strip the names and the logos off, and this is a playbook about 3 things. Own distribution so you can overpay and still win. Treat capital allocation as buying or deleting futures, not just chasing cheap multiples. Make sure your control structure actually matches the time horizon of your bets. Talent helps, but systems of distribution, capital, and control are what compound. If you want more breakdowns of the businesses that quietly change the rules for everyone else, subscribe. And if you know someone who's busy building their own thing, send this to them. They should understand the game they're playing. I'm Buster. See you next time.